Hi, my name is Kim Linton, and I'm here today to talk with you about my experience using the Ultra Lo-Fi Kanban board. I've been using the Kanban board for a little over a year now. And before I tell you about all the iterations that got me to where I am today, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself first. I'm a pretty serious list person. Before I started using the board regularly at my home for work and personal, just everyday purposes, I was a list maker. So there would be lists all over my house. I always derived a pretty large sense of satisfaction from being able to check something off on my list once I had completed it, either being able to put a check mark or draw a line through it once it had been completed. Are any of you like that? Once I started using the Ultra Lo-Fi Kanban board, my hypothesis was that it would eventually replace all of the various lists that were scattered around my home. I'm happy to tell you that my hypothesis was correct. However, it didn't happen overnight. So I'm here to tell you about the 3 iterations it took for me to get from the beginning to where I am now with my Ultra Lo-Fi Kanban board. I'm calling iteration 1 the Achiever. Looking at the photo on the left, this is the entryway to my home. I kept the Kanban board on the corkboard next to my daily calendar and my entryway table. If you look on that table, you might see a little something. Yep, it's a list. Ugh. For the first couple months, I just couldn't get away from it. Almost every day, I would still write a list, and then I would duplicate my efforts, as you can see in the second photo, by putting the same Post-it notes that were written on a list onto the Kanban board. It seemed fine for a beginner to do such a thing, but the problem came in when I realized it was causing me such anxiety when I didn't complete my tasks. I also did not have a WIP limit or a work in progress limit during this time or during this iteration. What I realized is I ended up choosing the easier tasks over the things that really needed to get done in my day. This iteration forced me to reflect on the question of, are the things I'm doing in my day really making a difference, or am I just posturing and checking off a box? Let's move on to iteration 2. I'm calling iteration 2 cutting back. I'll let you know why in just a second. First, you'll notice that I made a physical move from the front of my home into my office. And the reason I call this iteration cutting back is before this photo was taken, there were probably 50 to 60 Post-it notes in the options section or to the left of the Kanban board, just flooding the wall. It caused me such analysis paralysis and, again, more anxiety that I just couldn't get anything done. It really stopped the flow of the board, which is really part of the whole intention. So I ended up taking everything off the wall, off the board, and just getting to the basics, what really needed to get done. And my thought was, if it's important enough, it will come up again. So far, so good. Also, I introduced a WIP limit this time, and I started with 2. My thought was, in the working column, if I have 2 things going on at once and one of them is blocked, then I'll have an option to work on the other thing and not be tempted to go choose something else like I had done in the past. You'll notice above the board, there's several Post-it notes that are made of different colors. I introduced color coding during this iteration, really just to increase the visibility of various items that are flowing across my board. Finally, you'll notice the done column is pretty full here. It's just my personal preference, but it brings me great satisfaction to see the done column full of Post-it notes that have been completed. It's the same feeling I get when I check an item off of my to-do list. So, here we are, iteration 3. It's my current and probably not last iteration of my ultra lo-fi Kanban board. I'm calling this iteration Putting Me First. And the reason I call it that is because the only change I've made is to decrease the whip limit to 1. The reason I did this is because I found I was putting the least important of the 2 items in the prior iteration first, almost every time. And this caused me to miss a really, really important due date for something that was very valuable to me. And I think when something as painful as that happens to you, you really learn to adjust your systems. And luckily everything worked out okay in the end, but at the time it was really, really painful. So, that being said, you can see on my current Kanban board that I'm recording this Kanban video for you. And that is the only thing that I'm working on at the moment. Some final thoughts I have on my experience using the ultra lo-fi Kanban board are firstly, that I'm much more able to be thoughtful about what I choose to work on from the options column as opposed to the old traditional to-do list that I just chose from randomly. Secondly, being able to see and visualize everything I have to do or want to do on the board is so comforting for me and reduces my anxiety in such a way that I can be more present with the people I care about, including myself. Finally, I feel that having things move to the done column really fulfills my sense of accomplishment. And in a world that's always demanding more, you really get to celebrate the things that you get to complete. And I feel like that's something that's missing in our world today. So having the Kanban board able to fulfill that is something I think is pretty cool. So, did I get it right the first time? Absolutely not. You could see that through at least the 3 iterations that I've shown you today. But what's cool is that I was able to use this framework to rework my system until I found something that worked for me. Lastly, I believe that a Kanban board is not just a tool that technical teams can use. It's an easy, usable tool that any one of us can use in our everyday lives. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I thoroughly enjoyed making it for you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.